Hey YouTube, this is Jerry Lowlife with Jerry Lowlife Interviews here on YouTube. I appreciate you guys coming to check out the video. Thank you so much, and I appreciate every single one of you. This is a great video I did with Chris Schatz from Atlanta, Georgia. He's an audio engineer. We had a great conversation. It was good questions. It was very informative. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys want to see more of these, I have a new upload every week with someone different in the entertainment industry. Also, if you guys would like to see it live, head on over to my Facebook page at Jerry Lowlife Interviews. Hit those notifications, like those videos. It helps the algorithm and gets the information out to a lot of people. Anyways, I appreciate you guys coming here. Thank you so much for your support. I love each and every one of you. And I guess all I gotta say is enjoy the video. If there was one thing that influenced you to, because if everyone's just tuning in right now, not only is Chris an audio engineer, he's a fellow drummer as well. So, you know, what was one thing that influenced you to be a musician, or you know, what was it?
Oh, my mom. So she was actually a touring artist back in the late 80s as a vocalist. That's actually how she met my father out of Washington State. So for a majority of my, young childhood life, she used to sing at a bar down here. It's an iconic bar called Southern Comfort. If anybody's ever seen a movie called Medea, Family That Prays, the two women that are in that movie, when they go on a road trip, they actually stop at that bar. And so my mom sang there for a good bit and toured. But she was actually the first one who bought me my first drum set back when I was 14 years old. She got me my first Pearl kit, but that was a big influence. Her and I have been on stage before. We played some Bad Company songs together, played a couple of old school blues songs. We've done some karaoke together. She's definitely the better vocalist than me. I just kind of accent help her out. But yeah, I mean, she was the heart and drive and soul, and still is to this day. Music wouldn't have been a big envelopment and a big encompassment through my life of learning and, knowing different genres without her. I owe everything to my mom on music aspect, just listening to her tune in and key in her vocals every night, and, giving me my first drum set, being so supportive. She's been a majority of my shows, but, when I got out of the military and came back, just overall, just being the heart and soul for my musical life. So always and forever, I'm thankful for my mom.
That's awesome. Nice good deal. Yeah, so it wasn't completely to that point, but yeah, my mom was kind of an influence to me as well, but it was in a different way. She got tired of me like beating on her pots and pans when I was like 5 years old, so she ended up buying me a snare drum. So it's pretty awesome.
We all got to start somewhere. I started with 99X. That was our old radio station here in Georgia. And I remember the very first song I learned on that was In the End by Linkin Park. I had a pair of drumsticks back when I was playing trumpet in middle school. So I come home, I sit there with a pillow right between my legs and just jam out and just try to learn the song. And that's just kind of do what you got to do, listen to radio and then record it on cassette and get it on repeat. This everybody, for anybody that's younger than Jerry and I, this is way before you had MP3s. This is way before you had Napster. I mean, we didn't even have those options back in the late 90s. They were coming to a point, but CDs and cassettes were still, that was still the the norm.
You didn't have YouTube, or you didn't have any of these places where you could go look for something to see how to do certain things. Literally all you had to rely on was either listening to the radio or getting a cassette tape or a record player and just playing it over and over and just trying to figure it out. It was like a puzzle. So
absolutely, yeah.
It's pretty cool. What's like one great story that you have, whether it be funny, crazy, that's happened to you on the road? Like, do you have that one story? Do you have one that's pretty intense? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, when with my old band, when I got back from serving up north, I joined the group called Resist Capture, and we went on a leg. We traveled from here to New York and all the way back down to Alabama and Florida. But there's, I mean, definitely the venues, the scale of venues we played in were definitely intriguing. We had one up in New York that you would walk in the venue and the bar was like, I mean, if you're looking at downstage edge, my head is about dead on set with the kick drum. That's how high up it was. And then the ceiling is about 5 feet higher than that. So I had no realm of throwing up drumsticks or doing anything because I would hit the ceiling.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
that was and I mean the green room was right behind us, like this little kind of closet. So I mean the size of the venue was, I mean, I could have dealt with like an outside diner. I mean, compared to that, loading in and out was just such a hectic fun pain in the butt. But I'd say like I mean, touring with those guys was great. You know, a lot of baby wipes, a lot of hot nights, crazy sweaty days. You know, all of us on the road, you don't get the opportunity for showering. But I will say, you know, in the midst of hygiene, we didn't have the opportunity to go out of Walmart. We were so out of country on one of our nights, and we saw a spigot outside of this building because we just found this random parking lot and just posted up for the night. And we were all thirsty. You know, this is like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning before we're getting up to make the next travel for the leg. And we found the spigot, and we all ended up showering out of the spigot. So we basically had a pitcher of water, and we're just filling it up and just basically splashing ourselves trying to get, you know, water out of it and shower from that. And come to find out, that was actually a biker bar that was just about to open. So they got like 6 white guys out here just showering from a spigot outside of the door of the van. And we're like, dude, this is not going to be good. I was kind of scared for a moment, like, we probably need to hurry up. I mean, that's one of quite a few with those guys. You know, just when you're doing those fun little legs, man, and you're starting out as a band, you definitely you see some stuff, and definitely try to act like,
Yeah.
you know, try to act the fearless musician you are, but sometimes the butt pucker factor does arise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of my most memorable tours was when I first started, and it was in a van full of like 9 guys in a van, you know, and if you can imagine the smell that was protruding from that van, you know, for about 4 or 5 months, it was insane, just absolutely crazy.
And I mean, there's nothing you could do about it. I mean, you know, everybody's got their own hygiene, but you know, when you're doing a loadout at 11 and 12 o'clock at night, somebody's got to drive the van for the next 4 or 5, 6 hours to get you at least somewhat close to the next day before you do sound check or load in. I mean, that's the logistics.
So this is the thing that I've been actually wanting to know. What is your favorite microphone?
Oh man. Oh,
I know that's a hard question, but every audio engineer I know, I ask them, what is your favorite microphone? Like, you know, and it's hard. It's hard to pick one.
This is like for everybody, you know, they ask you, what's your favorite band? Okay. Like a movie. Like, I can't do that. Like, I have to break it down to genre, or I have to break it down to just style or realm.
Give me your top, I guess. Okay. So since we got, you know, we have drums involved, guitars involved, vocals involved, there's all kinds of things involved. What are your like top 5?
All right. So if I'm going to go for drums, kick drum, I'll never deny a 91 ever. I always love the 91s. For rack toms and snares, either the 603s or the beta 98s, the 98Cs, the goosenecks. Earthworks does have a whole new series too, that are super costly, but man, those pencil condensers with the goosenecks, man, they're just so gorgeous. For vocal mics, I mean, even a 57 alpha or a 58 beta, any one of those two would definitely do it. I mean, Shure has always gone the right way with those for vocal mics. For guitar cabs, E609s, I've even used 57s. I mean, there's not really much simplicity or too complications you need to go on miking up guitar cabs besides a 57 or a 609. I mean, that's pretty much about it. If you're going to talk about anything else for a piezoelectric mic on violin, strings, harps or trumpets, same thing, the 98 alphas or betas, anything with just a nice condenser element that has that nice frequency response capture on what we've got to capture for the image on that instrument, because it's always about sound envelope and timbre. That's the biggest thing I look at is for color format of what instrument, because it varies in the player too. Every player has a way that they're going to make that instrument sound too. So so I mean,
absolutely,
it's hard to denote it down.
It really is.
But I mean, overall, I'll take a 58 because I could drop that from the Empire State Building. Yeah, drop that from the Empire State Building. It'll crash however tall the Empire State Building is, and it'll still work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We got some people in the chat that are saying Sennheiser.
Yeah. Well,
Tracy Sterling said Sennheiser.
I shouted out Sennheiser. I said the 604s and the 609s.
Yeah.
I shouted them out. I'm not a big fan of Sennheiser when it comes to wireless. I'm gonna be a short accent person all day, especially the PSM 1000s. But for in-ears,
right.
But
Russell's saying that some 58 and 57 all the way, baby.
I mean, you could
they're
throw
tanks.
They're tanks. They are absolutely tanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not know you toured with John. I'm gonna kind of throw you back. So I've known John since 2012.
Okay, Wedge.
Yeah,
you've known Wedge that long?
I've known Wedge that long. Wedge, I will say, is probably one of the first people to really engage me into being an audio engineer. I'm gonna give him a shout out, because he was on tour back when I was stationed in North Dakota. There's a bar called The Original where Butcher Babies came through. I met Trapped. I met Howard Jones.
Okay.
I met Machine Head there. Actually, my buddy Tony and his wife, they both proposed on Machine Head stage right in front of the whole band. So John was actually on tour mixing for Butcher Babies back then.
Okay.
And so I pulled him to the side. Him and I had a couple of drinks, and we were talking about, because I was really curious about, what's this desk over here to the left of the stage? How are you doing in front of the house? Like, how are you getting things to go from A to B? And so, yeah, John and I sat there and had a symposium for a little bit. And, he kind of like got me, invested in, understanding the signal flow and path of what he's doing. And, then they had to rock and roll for the rest of the night. But him and I kept in touch, and that's crazy. Small world, man. I haven't seen her talk to John in a while, man. But I'll never forget that guy, man. Awesome. Great dude, great sound engineer. And
absolutely.
I know he's still mixing. He was, he was
out on tour. I just saw him a few weeks ago. He came through Oklahoma City, and he's out on tour with Ministry right now.
Ministry. That's it. Yep. Oh, dude, man. Yeah. Cause he's always on he's on a Soundcraft. He's mixing Soundcraft VIs. Yep.
Here's a crazy question I kind of like to ask everybody is, what do people misunderstand about you the most? In general, maybe, like, and this could be in any aspect.
I guess maybe my work ethic. I mean, because I'm pretty sporadic. So I mean, if Russ is still tuning in, or any of my other buddies that have been on a show with me, I'm multivariable, and how I mean that is I'm always thinking like 4 or 5 steps forward, because being not only just an engineer, but also being a backline drum tech and a musician, I'm always thinking of the parameters of what can I do to make everyone else's life easier while making my life harder. I know that seems kind of unorthodox and redundant as shit, but like I just mixed a festival for 9 bands. So, I mean, I was the only guy running front of house and monitors. I had to do, fortunately, the back line stayed up there, but I had, cab change outs and had to repatch that for each one of my cabs and mics up for DIs. But, but even for my talent, like if they needed water, if they needed something else happening for on stage, I had to readjust wedges. Just there are just so many things that I've done in the past for all my different job trades that I've encompassed into becoming an engineer. And I just know that it's always about the client. But for me, I'll do what it takes to make the client happy, because I just want everybody to have a good show and to be less pressured and stressed out when they get on stage, for it to just work. No matter if it's, front of house that my A1 needs help, or if I'm just running systems, my A2 needs help, or if my, backline guys need help, for my talent. I mean, so, I mean, that's the biggest understanding is knowing how pretty much my work ethic of how far I take the step and boundaries for myself to have the attention to detail on that realm of, they may think I'm doing too much, but for me, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. And that's just my foregoing mindset going in, because I'll never have like the absolute perfect type of like day or show, but I just want to have a good show, and I'll do whatever it takes to get to that good show point. So
awesome, man. That's a great answer, and I can relate to you on many levels with that. Like, being spontaneous, having certain things going on that you're just like having to attack at once. And for me, being a stage manager and a drum tech, I would take on other abilities when I needed to, but other times I would just kind of be like, oh, I'm gonna sit in the corner, everything's cool, and it's so hard to do that sometimes. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I could relate to that. That's a
Yeah.
good answer. That's
Yeah.
awesome, Chris.
I
Right
mean,
on, man.
you know, going from the musical aspect to like corporate aspect, like musical aspect, you're just worrying about your stage talent, what they got for returns on wedges, returns on ears, you know, how their backline set up, and then front of house, of course, how it's coming out of the PA to the crowd. But when you go a corporate and you have talent, you take all of that, and then you've got RF wrangling, because you're going to have wireless microphones all over the place usually. Then you're going to have comms. So you've got your stage talent and everybody that's going to have clear comm or Riedel or, you know, old systems. So being a part of that, having everybody on analog or wireless comm for client production manager, you have to monitor that. And then you got broadcast. So at that point, it's front of house multi-tracking on an Avid S6L. Are they running an SC48? Are they running an old PM series? You know,
right.
So then that, making sure that has a redundancy network system to it for multi-tracking. And then of course, you know, broadcast, if you're going to broadcast stream this stuff. So I mean, there's like the simplicities of being on a tour with like a 5-piece band, and then you take that and go on the corporate aspect. You've got about 4 to 5 other jobs that are like, yeah, you're a comm guy, you're RF wrangler, your monitors, your backline, you're this, you're that, you're flying this. It's like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
but that's the corporate world. I mean, that's what I'm back into right now. And you know, it's fun, especially when you're working with a great crew. Like I imagine, you know, if Russ is still on here, you know, him, shout out to Dave Bath, you know, a few fellow my other buddies that have trained and taught me over the tenure of the last few years. I mean, these guys have been doing it for 20-30 years. I mean, the job isn't hard. It's the same old story. It just gets bigger as I teach it for anybody coming in the industry. You know, learn the simple aspects of how to production build with your crew together, no matter how small it is. But when it's small and you know how to format work that, and you get a bigger show, that's all it is. You just have more. It just gets bigger. It's the same format. It just gets bigger.
Right.
You know.
And also at the end of the day, if you're working a job that you love, you're not ever going to work a day in your life. And that's at the end of the day, that's what it all means. You know, it's how it was for me when I was touring. I'm like, I'm looking at my watch, and then next week I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, dude, 2 weeks just went by.
Right.
Wow. It's crazy. You know,
it's time flies.
It does. It does.
A 14-hour production day feels like that.
Yeah, I agree. John J. Panzer in the house. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up, buddy? That's one of my disc golfing buddies. Actually, we just dropped a new music video from his channel, cool. Man. We have our first disc golf music video that he just produced. He did a great job on it too. He's one of the vocalists, man. Him and the rest of the buddies, the production crew, they did an outstanding job of that music video.
So here's an interesting question. So if you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would you choose?
Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Why is that?
Class. I feel like, I mean, anybody that's listening to Frank Sinatra, I mean, listening to him, it's definitely always soothing on the days where you're just driving down, the sunroof's open, windows are going down, you have nothing but the wind, you know, in just a forest kind of nice nature drive, but listen to Frank. But I feel like that guy, just with what his party mode, you know, his life mode, his outlook on life, you know, in that type of era too, it would be cool. It'd be cool just to sit there and have this coffee with Frank and just talk, you know, no worries, no interruptions. Just, I feel like him and I could have a pretty cool, you know, conversation just on almost any topic in general, which would be intriguing too, just whatever we chose to talk about. But yeah, Frank Sinatra.
We got a question in the chat. So Greg Smith is asking, what's your pet peeve of fans at shows?
I mean, mine, you know, if either I'm talent or working, I think it would just try to be like, you know, guest list access or like, you know, get me backstage. Mainly because of security issues. I mean, I think this is probably me speaking for everybody on the touring or just in, you know, in general, but it's one thing if they're family or friends that we know who they are, we know like how to keep in contact with them or blah, blah, blah. But the safety for us to, you know, just randomly have fans, you know, harp on us for not giving them a lemon or getting them backstage. It's not morally just like we're just trying to be sticklers. It's more of safety for our crew, our talent, you know, and above and beyond, because safety is always paramount, especially for me. I don't need that stress of having somebody just meanderly walking backstage, you know, that's whatever he or she may be doing. Just for everybody, for everybody's safety, because
Absolutely.
it's just another variable I don't need on a long day already, and I got another long day for the next leg or next date of it. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, fans are always great, moshing, crowd, circle pits, crowd surfing, the whole 9 yards. It's always great to see bands bring the energy and let people just egress what they've got going on in life for that 30 minutes or a 45-minute set. And of course people get rightly crazy down at the barricades, which highly doubt they're going to get past. But but yeah, other than that, man, just the random fans that just try to harp on us as talent and crew to get us backstage, and then they think we're not we're assholes or whatever. In a sense, it's like, no, it goes more than that, hun. It's sometimes it's above our call. Like I can't make that call. I've got lots of other things I got to worry about. So
And to me too, and this is me being a stage manager as well, it's, I can add to that. For me more, it was not only for our safety, but it was for their safety as well. We got cables and all kinds of stuff everywhere, things that people can trip over, hurt themselves horribly bad. There's just all kinds of things. There's just, the list goes on and on and on and on. So
yeah,
absolutely agree with you 100% on all those things, Chris. So moving to this next question, what was probably one of your favorite concerts you got to work?
Oh, dang.
That's a hard one, I know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say I'm gonna do it in 2-part answer. So as far as production scale, like the craziest one would definitely be Beyonce's. When I worked on her tour twice back in, was it 2016? She loaded in here at the Georgia Dome. She had 67 or 65 semis coming in. Well, that's not even that big. Remember, Taylor Swift just had a recent stadium run where she had over 95 semis. So
I know one even bigger that I got to do locally, but I'll tell you that later.
So even my
U2. It was U2.
Oh, that makes sense. Of course, U2. But her formation tour with that monolith that spun around. I mean, the amount of LED, her catwalk, and of course her PA and the upstage blinders that she had. I mean, it was just an awesome, gorgeous production. And doing that, twice was definitely a huge learning curve on just stamina, efficiency, logistics scale. The tour managers, the production managers did a great job managing everybody. It was a great crew to work with. The Australian riggers were funny as ever, man. I made so many cool buddies. Those guys just up in the sky, just hooting and hollering at each other. I can still remember, like, I could hear the background, just like every time I come into the VOM pushing, a cabinet or LED, I'm like, I still hear them just going at it. And these guys are 120 feet, up on the LED wall, so working on it. And then the coolest one that I like the most, because I got to meet Volbeat and hang out with Sinister Gates, was when Metallica and A7X and Volbeat came through here to Truist.
Nice.
That was an awesome one. That was a hot day. I got thrown around to a lot of departments working on that show, but at the end of it, I was backstage doing set changes for Volbeat to A7X before we flew out the wedges for Metallica, and getting the opportunity to run into a couple of crew guys and talent for Volbeat was really just a nice. I mean, I've been wanting to see Volbeat and Metallica for so long, but be able to have that opportunity to sit kind of side stage and just watch the guys go ham. Definitely that one has taken cake so far.
Super cool. Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, Metallica's I'm a big Metallica fan.
Oh yeah. I love James and Lars and Kirk. I mean, all those guys, man. I mean, definitely iconic in the metal industry, and forever will be. I mean,
absolutely.
Hats off to those guys who are still keeping it rocking and roll after 40 years now, 50 years now,
and still going. It's crazy. So question in the chat. Someone's asking, if you could work with anyone past or present, who would it be?
I'm gonna do that in 2 parts. So sorry, because I mean it's so hard, just like the genre of the movies. It really is. So if I had the opportunity in the past, and I'm gonna say this with modern technology, I wouldn't be a big fan of pushing up passive PA on scaffolding. Back then when we had just 4 outputs of 2 amp desks back then in the 60s and 70s. But if I had a modern PA setup with modern gear, I would definitely love to work with either Pink Floyd would be one, or Rush. Because of Neil Peart. I still to this day, Neil Peart, man, rest his soul. I never got the honor of seeing Rush live. And I was super intrigued with his drum tech on how they mic'd up his kit after the last like about 5 or 10 years or so. Just the parameters, what they did, but the envelopment that went into go for his overall kit. You know, I mean, you and I both know as drummers, his ergonomics on that kit. I mean, you know, as you age, it's harder to kind of have those reaches. So the way to design and
Mhm.
style that, but just the sound, man, between Pink Floyd and Rush. Now present, um, I would really, really, really love to work with Northlane out of Australia. Um,
Okay.
I believe they're Australia, that or UK. I can't remember which country. I think the UK. Sorry. Um, Northlane just has an awesome sound, really punchy sound. The guys is the newest album is really good. I love the deathcore scene, the deathcore metal scene like that with what some of these bands are doing. You
Cool.
know, and especially a lot of my friends, you know, they're out there on the road right now too. They're just, you know, pushing out really good music. So having the opportunity to, you know, mix those guys, just be on that crew would, you know, I could listen to those songs every night. Those 12, 13
Right.
songs that set, that's something that would I could never tire of listening to North Flame. I think
Yes.
Buddy Rich was the first one to actually initiate double drums, you know, double kick drum but with one single pedal. You use one single
Mhm.
pedal and a stick.
Mhm.
I think he was the
Mhm.
first one to do that before Bonham started going in with it with Zeppelin and then started using his
Right.
hands and making that same sound too.
Absolutely. And I believe that is correct. There's one other thing too that I like to ask everyone, you know, as drummers. I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, so who had the first rotating drum riser?
Oh,
And people instantly think Tommy Lee and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, it was Buddy
Rich.
Rich.
Yep.
Buddy Rich
Right.
had the first rotating drum riser too. It was
Mm-hmm.
small and like slow, but it rotated.
Especially
You
that, yeah.
know,
And those times, man. Yeah.
we know most work comes from word of mouth, but how do you suggest pitching yourself cold to a new company? Is what Marcel just asked.
Um, oh gosh, that's a tough one.
It is.
I mean, because you know, right now our labor force, you know, my mentors and I, we talked about this in 2020, and we projected that, you know, it's one thing to have a lot of Indians and not enough Chiefs, but right now I feel like we still have a lot of Indians, um, and really not enough Chiefs. And what I mean by that is a good bit of our labor force in the engineering aspect on all fronts, even for video and lighting and such. Your senior guys, you know, in 2020 it shifted them away from being in the industry, and the ones that we have left over, I mean, they're double swamped and double booked on the musical aspect and the corporate aspect. You know, the experienced personnel that, you know, are out there and they're with, you know, different freelance corporations or the, you know, companies itself. So trying to market yourself right now for a new company, I wouldn't really necessarily it's word of mouth, but it's hard to kind of do word of mouth, because I think the timeline that we're looking at right now with the amount of shows that are going on, there's not as much as wiggle room for error as there was a couple years ago, because you had that marginal with, you know, logistics and transportation, you know, personnel and staff. So if anything kind of came up and rise, like, you know, you lost 4 or 5 stagehands due to, you know, sick leave or whatever, vacation or emergency, or, you know, one of your truckers had to ditch a trailer, but, you know, because of a family, you know, all those things that come to light with getting gear back and forth. And even just
Mhm.
engineers, you know, back then you could have someone readily available. Now that's not so much, you know, in a construct anymore. And so I feel trying to have a word of mouth for personnel and getting in the corporate aspect is much harder than it would just to be a freelance and try to get into a shop and show what you're able to do, what your knowledge is so far, or where you're weak in areas, so that those of us who work in this, you know, we can forego our knowledge to you, because I have nothing to hide. All my knowledge, I want to divvy out. I want to be able to give that information out to make them successful on their shows and so on and so forth, to keep the ball rolling. Absolutely.
Mhm. Right.
Nothing that I've ever taught or learned, and utilized has ever been a secret. So, um, word of mouth is it's there, but it's also a double-edged sword, you know. Like, you know, me trying to help out buddies of mine and find them, you know, last minute engineers that I've never personally worked with, and I say, you know, hey, I know that, you know, you reached out to me for this job. I've never personally worked for you, but if you're capable and confident on doing this job, I'll give you the PM's information and you guys take it from there. Now, because I don't want to, throw a buddy of mine under fire and say, hey, there's, I found you a body, hopefully he or she can work out. And this is day of show kind of deal.
Right.
Something that can be a blunderbuss. And
Yep.
Marcel's a great engineer. The gentleman that asked me that, I've worked with him in the past as an A2. Him and I've been on shows, and he's a great guy. He knows his stuff. And I mean, if for anybody out there that's trying to get into the industry and just by word of mouth, I think it's just, demeanor. If you're going to sit there and end up being introduced to, somebody brand new, I think demeanor is a big thing. And then just work ethic. But it's, as far as doing that in show sites, that's pretty hard to do until you can get them into a shop and then, have them freelance from that point and, see how well they can apply their knowledge to from whatever field that they come from, or whatever passive mentorship they came from. So I don't know, maybe that answers the question. It's kind of hard because word of mouth, like it still gives me like the heebie-jeebies because I don't want to throw any of my buddies. I mean, there were just a plethora of people that I could call, and buddies that of mine that I could have on standby. Now it's, anybody that calls like, dude, I'm out in the West Coast, dude, I'm over here, like I've got 4 or 5 months booked. I'm like,
right.
Well, dang, I can't do it. I'm currently on a gig.
Right.
So it's so hard. But that's why, we're always looking for people. I'm always willing to help out and train and teach and coach and all this, just because 10, 20 years on the line, man, we're still going to be rocking out shows. We're still going to need to push PA. We're still going to need techs. We're still going to need guys to, help out bands and just keep the music and the corporate industry alive. And shows are never going to go away. It's just where we're going to see the future chapter in the next decade or so, as far as, how we all work as a team.
Looks like Russell chimed in. He said, use LinkedIn, best way to market yourself cold to new companies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn's a great way. I mean, there's always different chapters on that. I mean, if you're looking for links, I mean, BobNet rocks. They're the ones that hit the market for live touring aspects. They're always looking for front of house project managers, touring managers.
Yep. A lot of us on there. I'm on there too, even to this day. And I hit him up and said, I'm not in the industry anymore. He's like, no, Jerry, you're staying. I was like, thanks, man. It made me feel good.
Yeah. I mean, there's Signal to Noise podcast, the guys, Chris Leonard and Mike Lawrence and Kyle Turnside. Those are all great guys, great audio engineers. Michael Lawrence works for Rational Acoustics, who deals with smart RTA tuning. He's the one that created the DB calculations and program for that. All awesome gentlemen. They put me in touch with the Allen and Heath East Coast head representative. I've talked with Mark a handful of times.
Cool.
I mean, there's like the information's out there. So yeah, Signal to Noise podcast. Yeah, LinkedIn's a great one. bobrocks.net or bobnet.rocks. And if Marcel, I mean, you can reach me offline and I'll shoot you all these links and contacts, man. And Russ knows some too. There's some other outside labor corporate companies that are looking for people, but we can talk more offline about that.
I had an engineer tell me that if they taught me, then I would steal their job. I know I never wanted anyone who was willing to learn to have that feeling. So
that's crazy. Yeah. See, I don't get that. I mean, because if for my teachings, because I still to this day, I've had buddies I've worked with, they'll call me day of show and say, hey man, I'm on an X32, or hey man, I'm on an SC48, or I'm on a Yamaha CLQL5. And they're like, I can't patch. And then, I'm sitting there trying to like, can you FaceTime me? Can you Zoom me? Because it's one thing of walking through somebody on a parameter of a troubleshooting issue when you're just, audibly doing it. Visually, it's even harder if you can't even do it visually. They have bad Wi-Fi. So I've had parameters like that. But so teaching, not giving the plethora of knowledge out there, I wouldn't say it's stealing the job, because while that one, engineers on this client's contract for however long, the guy who you taught is now doing, backlog, like, so if the client wanted you, but you've got your apprentice who's as compliant and competent and capable of doing the job that you can, hey, you
Mhm.
still keep that client. So you're still keeping that
Right.
relationship close. It's like, hey, I've got a 2.0 of me over here. He's more than capable of handling the job. That's my buddy. You know, I can't do your show right now because I'm on another one, but we'll try for next year or next time kind of deal. But you still hold that relationship. And that's what I think is a viability is for on all formats between lighting, audio, video, you know, production management, stage managing, is
Mhm.
it's always one team, one fight. There's never a point where, you know, there should ever be a battle like, I don't want you to have this gig because I'm afraid it might take it. I I mean, I won't be, you know, I can't do that. I mean, just personally speaking, because I always know there's gonna be another gig. Now, you know, if a gig arises where I was gonna take it, then something happens I can't take it, and I gotta find a fill in. Great, amen. You know, I'm glad I can help you out. You can take the gig, keep the relationship going, and then
Right.
I'll hop in the next one. But you at least didn't burn the bridge, you know, on both fronts. In my sense, you know,
Right.
on a
Right. Right.
personal basis, and then in a clientele personal basis too. So yeah, I mean, like going back, you know, and step back. I mean, Marcel and I, we worked on shows together, but you know, I'm sure you can agree, and Russ can agree. Going from a corporate, you know, side of being an audio engineer, and then to the musical side, you know, you're missing kind of key job positions that are adamant on a corporate side compared to a musical side. You know, like
Mm.
being a comm guy. You know, dealing with clear comm, analog channel splits, having to run that for split systems. You know, it could be as elaborate as having to run over 25 channels of free speak and then another 25 channels of belt packs.
Wow.
You know, because you have 14 graphic engineers back there on their laptops doing different graphic images and the recording. And then you got people in the production room behind front of house. Plus you got front of house needs to be on comm. Your camera operators need to be on comm. Your lighting operators need to be
Mm.
on comm. You know, your guys are on stage doing set changes and prop changes. Like, you know, this is a full on, and these guys can agree to this, like a full on Broadway show, but scoped out even bigger. And so usually that type of parameter isn't really evolved into on just like a simple, you know, festival rock show, because you just got a band that's coming on a stage deck, you know,
Mm.
with drum risers,
Mhm.
and they're just, you know, I both know they're rolling on and off. So I mean, monitor engineers just focus on wedges, tying in with W1s, W2s, you know, getting returns, getting signals, getting split feeds to front of house, and making sure everything's all set and making sure a talent can hear, and then you're rock and roll. But on corporate, when those things got, you know, arise, you've got, I mean, parameters above parameters. So taking
It's
that and
crazy.
taking that knowledge and having that going into the musical side, you know, if you have a musical gig that's not going to, you know, pan out for you, but someone's like, hey, I need an RF wrangler. Great, I'm your guy. Hey, I need a comms guy. Hey, I'm your guy. Hey, I just need you
Right.
to, you know, run front of house for me. Or, hey, can you fly this PA for me? Hey, I'm your guy. So
Right.
being that multifaceted type of individual, I think is a lot more
It's awesome.
paramount, is paramount now. I mean, and it's fun too, you know, to be able to do that.
Right, right. And then coming from the music side of it all too, with me, you know, I was working with bands aren't like super huge, you know, like Fear Factory, for instance, and all that. They're not like Def Leppard or Kiss or like Foo Fighters or anything like that.
But they're still
You know,
big.
so
I mean, Fear
yeah, I
Factory and
mean,
Devil
yeah,
Driver,
yeah,
that's big
yeah.
bands.
But still, you know, even in that industry, they asked for stuff like Skeleton Crew, and Skeleton Crew being like, you know, not only is our guitar tech, they're doing one guitar player's guitar, he's doing the others, and he's doing the bass players, and he's, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and he's taking care of all this stuff. Whereas, like, our front of house engineer, John Wedge, he would, you know, we may not have a monitor engineer, and he may run monitors out front of house, and he does front of house, and he's the tour manager. And it's like me, you know, I'm the drum tech and stage manager. Like, so everybody has multiple roles just in that logistics, because that's just what it calls for these days. You know, a lot of bands look for that. So
Always, you're always going to wear
you know,
2 to 3 hats on a show at minimal.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
whether it's being
absolutely.
a low master, you're pushing gear to the deck, or like stage managing, backlining, you know, running the monitors, all the above. Right.
Right. What's your worst monitor mixing experience?
Oh man. Um. Oh gosh. I'm not gonna say the talent's name or anything of the venue.
Fair enough.
This was probably just an uh-oh on my end. You know, coming out of the pandemic, you know, sometimes when you're not behind a desk, you just kind of lose like your checklist of procedures. But
Mhm.
I think it was last year I had a mix, and I kept having, I had assumed like the way that the PA was positioned, it was almost facing the wedges, so almost causing for a loop back. And sorry, I'm closing my eyes as I'm thinking about it, but this is one of those times where I was aware that the show file and the graphic EQs on the wedges were already set for feedback, and they weren't. My opening band was self-contained, so when I had them fed up through the PA, it was just patch and go at that point. But when the headliner came on, there was a couple of points there where I was getting feedback roughly right about 500 to 750 hertz, and I kept hearing it. I'm hearing on my left side, I was like, is that out of the PA? And I'm looking at my metering peaks I'm looking at my graphics on stereo for master out, and then I see it in my wedges too. And I'm sitting there making micro adjustments, and eventually, I did fix it and such, but I made the crowd mad. I made the crowd really mad. I had a guy to my right. He was like 5 feet away from me with his girlfriend. He was drinking all night, and he was saying the most audacious, nastiest things. I could hear him because I have one of my ears in, just listening to my Q mix, and I could hear him all right. And he was getting squirrely. He was ready to like come over and tackle me. I'm like, I got it, guys. Just this is a lot to kind of take on, especially when the signal on the noise floor is really, really low, and little things are ready to peak up. Everything's silence in the room. You're gonna hear the smallest of, ooh,
Yeah.
here or
Right.
there.
Right.
So I was
Right.
sitting there, and I'm scanning through each one of my inputs and my mix outputs, and I'm like, okay, there it is, because I already, I was given the gig, and I had already just not really assumed, but I factored that everything was already rung out, and I was this was me throwing on a TF 5 console, which I'm not a fan of Yamaha. Sorry, TF series is not my favorite desk to mix on. I could go the rest of my life without seeing that. I'll take an X32 or even an M32, or even just a small little QL1. But yeah, so I think that other than that, I mean, I think for all of us engineers, you're gonna have the hiccup kind of days where you're mind tired beyond. And it's like the little simple checklist of procedures just kind of gets away from you, thinking like, oh, I can handle that later. Or it's like, oh, hold on, something else catches your mind. But then there's always like 5, 7, 10, 20 gigs after that are just flawless, But yeah, I think that's the one right there. Where I was just like, crap. because it was a crowd full of older men and women. So, and it definitely, like, they had that certain type of hearing response where they just like, I can't hear the highs, or I can't hear any lows. I'm like, I can't make everybody happy with this point source system, y'all. Like, there's only so much I can control. I can't just make the cabinets turn magically at you. Sit closer. That's all I could do.
Right.
So
backseat drivers.
Yeah. But again, you learn and just get back into it and just keep on chucking on to the next gig, man.
Yep, that's right. What's your favorite show you've ever went to as a fan?
Oh, favorite show I ever went to as a fan. Oh, y'all killing me. This is gonna be a 2-part answer. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna say, as production scale that I went to, mainly because this was like a really big upbringing. My mom took me to go see this band called the Producers. We're actually really good friends with them. She's known the Producers for a long time. They're a Georgia band and great guys. We saw them I think we were in Montgomery, Alabama, or Birmingham, I can't remember. And the headliner was Kansas, and I was, was like 13 or 14. So this was like technically my first major live show that I went to, and we had backstage access. So I'm backstage with a buddy of mine I grew up with. I had flown back from Washington to come stay with a little bit with my mom back then when I was living up in the PNW. And so that show was outstanding. Be able to meet the Producers. I sat upstage right on this little road case watching Phil Ehart play the entire set. So Here on My Wayward Son, Dustin Lynn, all the major hits, and I'm just sitting there, and I see the whole crowd in the amphitheater, and I didn't move. And of course, after the show, I brought my snare drum head, and he signed it, and I wish I still had it. I don't know where even it is in the family, but definitely that, not only being with the person who introduced me to music and got me involved with it so much and still to this day, but also being able to have one of my first major shows and actually being backstage and being introduced to just the backstage environment and meeting the bands, So that one will forever be in my heart as one of my favorite fan shows, being at that spot. as far as the other part of the other part answer, I think here soon it's probably going to be when I see North Lane. I am going to see Architects again in September. Those are some of my top favorite bands to watch. Architects puts out just awesome music. I am going to see Motley Crue, Joan Jett, Def Leppard, and Poison come next month. I've been waiting to. I've seen Def Leppard a handful of times, but I haven't seen the other three bands. And then now I'm seeing Bring Me the Horizon. But I think probably what may answer that question, since I am a huge grunge fan with Nirvana and Pearl Jam, I am seeing Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush in August or September. So rest in peace, Lee. But the fact that I'm able to see Alice in Chains and sing my heart out to them, that's probably going to be the second answer when that comes up in the next coming months.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
grunge music has always been one of my top favorite just genres to jam to on my kit too. So
same.
Yeah.
I can say that too. A lot of people hate me for saying that, but yeah, absolutely too.
Just so
for me
fun
as well.
Just so like Candlebox, you know.
And for all the haters out there, I love Nirvana. Yeah, I love Nirvana.
Man. Yeah, always, brother, always.
Dave Grohl was a big influence on me too as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not only just as a person, but as a drummer. You know, like great all around guy.
God, I would love to sit and have coffee with Dave Grohl for 5 minutes. Going back to the question from earlier, you know, coffee. I mean, Dave Grohl. Mm-hmm. You know, if I could.
Yeah.
Please.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting out in your career?
Get into a shop. Before you get with anything else, get into a shop that engineers like myself and my mentors and everybody else, we can teach you and show you everything that you're going to need to learn before you get out to the field. Getting on show site is nice as a stagehand, but I feel like getting into a shop and understanding how everything is built and structured, like the whole pack, how nice and neat the pack needs to be, labeling it for not only the truck pack before it needs to go on deck, upstage, downstage, stage left, stage right, front of house, you know, all of that. Because then once you get on stage out there on the festival, the event, then it's a whole new learning primer. But now you know all your gear. Now you know what's what, because you built the package with your engineers. You know how it's going to be structured and built up, so we can teach you that in the shop. And we just throw you out there on a show side, be like, hey, go over there and grab me that 8-way. Hey, go over there and grab me that split 6. Hey, go over there and grab me those W1s and that upstage drop. Be like, sure, I got an Edison. So, you know, not trying to end up, you know, I don't like having, you know, people on shows and such just kind of, you know, just clueless in a sense. So if you're getting in the industry, find a local shop that's an AV company and come on in and freelance. I'm sure a lot of them out there are looking for freelancers or, you know, for full-time hires, but that right there is the best starting ground. Because I mean, you have a plethora amount of choice when you kind of get up to that scale, you know, over seniority of time, that you can come in and just your own rig and just do a virtual playback and just have fun with your mix if you're in audio, or even for lighting, or even for video too. So yeah, definitely get into a shop.
I guess that kind of goes to hand in hand with my next question too, is, in your opinion, what is the most important personality, like trait or strength, someone would need to work in your industry just to be successful in your job?
Attention to detail is a big one. And I think like mentally wise, it's staying calm, you know, trying to find a way to no matter what the situation may arise, because you're going to have froggy moments, you're going to have troubleshooting moments, but being able to critically think with your team, or like foresee something that may arise as a trouble, and factoring of a solution for that. But anytime there's a issue that arises, staying calm. You've got to stay calm in this industry. Panicking is not going to get you anywhere. There's a lot of moments, like even for myself, I'll sit there and I'll be like, oh crap, you know, but you just over experience in time, you'll hopefully engage in a compass in a way of working that out however you see fit to working that out. But you can't panic. You can't just like freak out and try to not if you shut down, if you're that type of person who's going to shut down and just kind of froze and stay still, you're not going to work, because you have a lot of things that are moving parts, not just on your own realm, but on everybody else's world. I mean, you as a stage manager and us doing backline change out, that's a lot of moving parts. Just even if it's a 5-piece band, that's still a lot of moving parts for
Yeah.
upstage area. And that's just the smallest aspect. You're not even accounting for, lighting changes, scenic changes, front of house stuff. And that's just on that. And same thing for corporate. So yeah, critical thinking and attention to detail. Which, I mean, that's probably, pretty vague, as like almost every job in a sense. You got to have that in a sense, but I feel like that's much more prevalent in our industry, because those will carry on for prevention of the small minor things that could turn into a big issue, like right during the middle of a show. Some things you can't, some things, if something just shuts down on you, like you lose your entire house power, I mean, well, there you go. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right. Right.
If the disconnect is decided to shut off, or the whole entire grid of power went out, I mean, oh well. But or like one little RF channel decided to squeak or squelch, or something kind of goes down, or like you're losing input of kick drum, one little small thing. All right,
or if you're in another country using different type of power, and you have that surge of power destroy whatever instrument is plugged into that power.
Yep. Yeah.
That was fearful. I've done that before.
I can deal with a hot going out, but not the neutral. Yeah.
Right.
Just to keep the neutral good.
Right.
Please. Background on me. I considered Georgia my birthplace, but Washington's my hometown, Lakewood, Washington.
Okay.
I flew back and forth. Like I said, my mom was a touring artist back in the 80s. And before I settled in Washington for high school at 13, I moved 4 or 5 times between the 2 states, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So good bit of traveling as a kid.
Right.
If I only had Sky Miles back then.
Right. Exactly. That would be amazing.
Free
that would be so awesome. What is the coolest place you went while on the road as an audio engineer? And then he said crazy stories. We did do some crazy stories earlier, Alec. But if Chris wants to throw one in, so cool place you went to while on the road, and another crazy story, I guess. I don't know.
I would say for like a scenic wise, I mean, I did a gig last year in Bonita Springs, California. It was a little corporate gig. And crazy enough, man, I mean, that's probably been my coolest experience. I've been a lot of other places. I've been out to Texas. I flew a massive rig out there. I'll elaborate that in a moment. And that took that package out to South Carolina back in 2019. But when I was in California, they were doing a festival out there, and Pearl Jam was headlining. And I had no idea this festival was going on. It's within walking distance. The resort that I was at, I could literally see the pier outside my window. So one of my buddies I was out there with, him and I bought bracelets for him and I to go. We get down there, and I was trying to plan on seeing Pearl Jam, but I had to get back for one of my late night sessions. And so we had a 6-hour break in the day on a Saturday. So him and I went, and when we got there, I ended up seeing Taylor Hawkins play, rest in peace. I got to see Matt Cameron play, Dave Navarro, and I think Chad Smith was there too.
Nice.
So I've never seen Red Hot Chili Peppers play live before. I've never seen the Foo Fighters play before, and I never got an opportunity to see Soundgarden play before. But usually, like for all those bands, of course, I want to see Chris Cornell and the bands in general. But be able to see Taylor, Matt, and Chad, everybody just on their drums, just jamming out with different bands. That was I had no idea. So I'm sitting out there, and Dave Ratt's the one that provided the production. So I chatted away with a couple of the front of house engineers on the rigs and such. And, just again, being an audio nerd as always, I'm always pitching to the guys at front of house, asking how their day's going. But that was probably the coolest thing, man, be able to have the opportunity to fly out to a new city and state, stay at a resort, get bracelets to go to a live festival. I had no idea what was going on, and the opportunity to see, 3 of some of my top influential drummers since I was a kid, just again randomly appear, like, oh, I happen to be here and you guys are here too, sweet. So that one
super awesome. That's so awesome. Such a cool story. Wow.
Just something that's the fun thing about just going out, man. You just never know exactly what's around your surrounding environments when you're out in different cities and dates like that.
Absolutely.
And if you have the time too, if you have the time.
Right.
Another crazy story. Man, I can't say too many that would get me in trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean,
To a
you
point.
guys can watch the YouTube and watch
Yeah.
or
Go
go back and listen to the other story he had earlier.
Well, I mean, the Fawcett story is not too bad. I mean, the rest of us guys in RC, we were pretty good. 'Cause, I mean, as me being the drummer in the band and having to drive and help out, I mean, there was a lot that I just had to be the adult guy and just keep us, PG-13. It wasn't really too many shenanigans we had.
Mm,
Oh man, I I'm trying to even think from like even pre 2022.
right.
I mean, honestly, like most of our nights are pretty boring. I mean, we do some shenanigans and such. Okay, I will say, from another. So before I ended up leaving North Dakota and coming down here, another crazy cool story. I'll just throw this one out. So my buddy Justin, he actually guitar techs for Mariah Bink and
Yeah, it's in this moment.
in this moment. Thank you. And Nonpoint. So Justin's tech for them for quite a while, and I've known Justin since 2011 too. He was at the original. That's how they picked him up.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's got long beard. I think Justin he might still live in North Dakota. Awesome dude, great tech dude. One hell of a shredder and guitar, man. I miss that guy. So anyways, Justin and I went down to, I think we went to Bismarck or Fargo to go see Bullet for My Valentine headline.
Mhm.
And during that night, it was Black Veil Brides, and then I can't remember the other opening band, but Black Veil co-headline, Bullet was the headliner. So anyways, Justin and I are watching the show, hanging out, and after the show, we actually go to a bar right behind the venue, and sure enough, who's at the bar? You got Matt, the lead vocalist of Bullet for My Valentine there. I see Moose in the background too, the drummer. I happened to meet Moose outside the venue for a moment as the buses, and I got a picture with him. So after that show, Matt has all of us go back to the buses. We all go hang out, do a couple shots. We then end up going to the other trailer for the opening guys band. I can't remember who they are. And the bassist of Black Veil Brides was in there. The bassist for Bullet for My Valentine was in there. A couple of the other guys from the other bands were in there. I can't remember their names. Moose wasn't with us and Matt wasn't with us, but we pretty much just got shitty for the whole night. So
Right.
At that point, this is going on like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and again, one of us has got to drive back, Justin or I.
Uh-oh.
He didn't really drink that much. I did, so I was a partaker on that back in my young days. I don't do that much anymore.
I feel you on that. I used to tech with a beer helmet on, so
hell no, can't do that too much anymore, especially with IPAs being introduced to society.
Yeah. Same.
So Justin and I get back on the road, and I think about probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. I passed out. He wakes me up, and I'm in just a complete shit wreck. Like I can't focus at all. He's tired. He needs me to drive the rest of the leg getting back to Minot. So when he wakes me up, I remember I opened the door and just blah, everything out the passenger side door, dude. So it's like have a complete just fresh air resweep of my body. Like, what is going on right now? Where am I? Where are we? I had no idea. Like, where are we? So he's like, dude, I need you to drive. Like, I'm so tired. If I drive for another 2 minutes, I'm gonna zonk out. I'm like, okay. Like, let me have a cigarette. Back when I was smoking. Let me get some water. So I ended up driving us back, and that night still sticks with me forever, just because it was a random night for him. I go to a show, end up meeting Talon again, and then nearly at that point, I'm driving back, damn near halfway. Not want to say shit face anymore, but I'm hungover driving at that point.
Right.
I'm just 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't even remember what the hell was going on in my surrounding environments. All I knew was white lines. Just follow the white line all the way down. It's follow the sides all the way down. It's a straight shot in those highways out there, anyways. You can't really do too many left or right turns without hitting a dirt path. So
right.
But
wow.
some of those, it's a really crazy story, but I don't know. I mind my P's and Q's on shows. I guess I'm a boring techie. I don't know. I don't do too much dangerous shit.
Hey, that's a good thing.
I mean,
that's a great thing.
I mean, I get a little reckless. I mean, I scaled a truss to get an L620 cable, and I was 4 feet off the deck, but I monkey wrenched it. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram. I don't even post. It's on my TikTok.
I'll have to check that out.
It's on my TikTok. But
okay.
I mean, a buddy, my LD, he took a video of me because we had that plug stuck in the truss. So I was like, I'm just gonna monkey crawl instead of getting the 8-foot ladder out. Fuck that.
I think I have seen that.
So I scaled across it. I got the plug.
That's right. I have seen that. That
just see me do some
was,
Ninja Warrior shit.
yeah.
I mean, this is like after like a 16-hour production day. I've been up since 6 a.m. that morning, so I'm
Yeah,
just
man.
wrecked, tired, and I'm
I'm
like,
sure.
it's that end of the day. You're just, man, just go it.
I'm getting it done, you know?
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even make like one. I'd be like, oh God, I'm gonna fall.
They're like, get the ladder. I was like, no, I don't need a ladder. I was 4 feet off a deck anyways. Ain't gonna break motion protocol.
Like, how long were you in the military, and were you as and where were you when you were stationed, I guess is what he's asking.
Yeah. So I served in the Air Force as a 3PO31 Security Forces journeyman. I was in from June of 09 to September 2014, full active, and I was stationed in Minot, North Dakota under the 91st Air Force Global Strike Command. I was 91st Security Forces Group, 91st Missile Security Forces Squadron Attachment. So for 2 years, I worked out in the field, and then 2.5 years, I was chair force. I'll say
it. That's awesome, man. Right on. And again, thank you for your service there, Chris. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
Let's see. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Australia.
You know, I agree with you 100% on that.
Queensland. So, Queensland, Australia.
My favorite city is Melbourne.
Okay.
Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
So
hey man, party buddies, let's go to Aries Rock, bro.
Dude.
Let's go.
I love Melbourne. Yeah. Like Australia is just amazing to me. That and New Zealand, you know, New Zealand and Australia, I like both, you know, but yeah, I'm 100% aboard on that with you.
Yeah. Having the desert side, foresty side, and the ocean with the Great Barrier Reef. I mean,
yeah. What could go? I mean,
but also I got the opera house. I got the opera house. I mean, one thing about me is I love concertos. I love orchestras. I love operas. I love musical envelopment when you're surrounded and immersed in it. You know, it's one thing that's hard to capture in a live amphitheater environment with a standard left, right, main PA. That's just a really hard thing with summation at that point, even at 350 feet or 1,000-foot throw. But when you're in like certain types of coliseums where they have it, you know, delayed and perfected, where no matter where you're at, you're feeling that full envelopment, man. And orchestras, just so much timbre, just so much color all over.
It's awesome,
gorgeous. You just get goosebumps.
Yep.
Like I will say one of the coolest mixes, and I really wish I can go back in time and see this show, is when Bring Me the Horizon did that live event out at Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Dude, man, that mix was so gorgeous, just hearing that, but just being there, listening to that in Royal Albert Hall. Oh man,
I can imagine. Dude. Wow. Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about the new building they're putting in Vegas, that Sphere. That's all LED. And
wow.
So just an audio nerd thing right here for the rest of my audio buddies on here listening to it. Your standard PA is a standard line array, so you have usually 2 horns per box. Now what they're doing in that venue is this thing called a hollow plot. The hollow plot has 96 drivers in it per cabinet.
What?
So it's a quadrilateral. So if you look it up, it's called the hollow plot. This is the first venue that I'm aware of that they're actually installing this in Vegas. So it's basically with the hollow plot, you're able to beam steer your sound and draw it an automation of where you want it to hit your audience. So it's not an actual full summation array system coming out.
Okay.
It's steerable. It's a steerable coverage. And
that is crazy.
Yeah. So if you look up the video and look up the imaging of this, I don't know what they named the venue out there, but it's a massive ass sphere and it's all covered in LED.
That is awesome. Yeah, dude. Wow.
So I've got to go and take a trip to Vegas to go and just buy it.
I might have to go check that out myself too.
I don't care what show
that's pretty cool.
Right.
That is cool. I'm going to have to tell Wedge about that one.
Yeah. Whoever's mixing in there, dude, they're going to have fun.
I bet.
They're going to have a blast.
What's some of your favorite tools for the gig?
Oh, well, he's going to know this one, the sound bullet, the Sonic sound bullet right now. That's if backline techs, monitor engineers had this 10-15 years ago, dude, for line checking, bro, it's so golden. I can check a 1 through 32 channel bank between monitors in front of house in 3 minutes. You know, boom.
Wow.
And it's full on. I can monitor. I could test phantom power. I can test XLR cables. I can do DI sends. I could check 1/4-inch cables on it. It's an absolutely #1 tool that any audio engineer needs to have in their bag is a Sonic sound bullet. course, the Dave Rat, you know, XLR sniffer is a great one to have. Um, uh, I think for anything else, it's, I mean, that's the biggest thing is always line checks, man. That's, you know, testing your XLR drives inputs. Anything else would be, you know, like Dante or Ivana if you're doing IO protocol over DSPs. You know, like little adapters here and there. Um, I definitely like having my laser for my inclinometer when I'm flying PA, so I know where my bump is hitting at in my stadiums. So sometimes, if, you know, what I mean by that is we have laser systems that sit on top of our fly stacks. So D&B usually has them installed in their fly reel system. Meyer, it comes additional. So low box has a laser, and we can tie that into our galaxies, and basically it'll shoot a laser out, and I can see exactly where I'm beam steering my bumper, where to hit the audience at a certain depth. And then, you know,
Right.
splitting it from that point. You can do that in pre-map calculations between programs of, you know, DB Array Calc or DB Map XT. But I have a badass laser. I actually keep it in my house to terrorize the dogs with. But that laser goes, dude, it's like a half a mile. I guarantee you, if I shine it in the sky, the FAA would be like, "Where's that coming from?
What's going on?"
Dude,
yeah,
it's such a
calling this
laser.
guy in right now.
Yeah, that's you know, like that's a dumb thing, but I like having that laser, you know, when I'm doing those big stadium shows like that for corporate events. It just helps to make sure that, you know, if you need to adjust, if I need to adjust trim height for my bumps they're at, you know, if I drew it in calculations one thing, but actually putting it in real time is like, let me adjust this, you know, just for factor out in the field.
That's cool.
But yeah, the sonic sound bullet, man, that's a must have for every audio engineer, I feel. Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, you're hearing it from Chris. Better have one if you're doing audio.
It's worth it, and it's rugged as shit.
Nice. What is your go-to food on the road?
I mean, quick, fast, and cheap. It's like almost any of it. Burritos, man. Burritos or tacos. I can go for that any day. I am a taco enthusiast. It's, you know, when I'm sitting there at monitors, or I'm at front of house and I can only have a quick bite, if I can just get some tacos, aluminum foil wrap them for me, give me a little bit of hot sauce, dude, I can nom away, still monitor my desk, and I'm golden. Instead of having, like, you know, needing forks and everything, just something that I can just, you know, eat. So a burrito or tacos, I'm set every day, you know.
There you go.
Because I need it for the carbs too. I'm gonna burn those carbs in the first 4 hours of the gig. So
anyone listening that's in the world that has Chris there, and you know, you want this guy to be happy, make sure he has tacos or burritos.
Donga.
Got it. And then Russell's like, ramen, and he's like, laugh out loud.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna remember that. You know what? I'm gonna bring that for him on Sunday when we do our load in. Him and I, we've got a corporate event for a graduation, so we're flying 8, 16, 24, 32 Lions, Meyer Lions, and we've got fullbacks of UPAs, fills of UPMs, stage wedges of MJF 212s, and standard 8 channel of RF. It's not a big rig, but yeah, the Lions are hefty. I'm gonna have him and I in our A1 take a picture together of our rig, because we really, like, again, when we do our shows, man, we don't have time for social media. So presenting what we do, you know, after the show is built, yeah, I'm gonna have us do a nice little photo op in front of our rig. But it's gonna be a big convention center. It's a nice one.
So what's one question you wish I asked you, and how would you have answered?
Oh, whoa. Man, I don't know if I put this in like the craziest gig you've ever done, you know, like hardest gig that you've personally ever done, or yeah, you know what, I'll go with that one, because I'm kind of proud about that too. About that rig. That's the biggest one I've ever done. I mean, everything else would be like, you know, work ethic or work orchestrated, but like, again, I put it in a mode about attention to detail and having good work ethic and critical thinking is what it takes to survive. But I would say, what's the biggest or craziest rig you've ever designed or built? And that would be, I did a corporate event back in 2019 in Texas at American Airlines Amphitheater. I didn't necessarily plan it for this route, but ideally you're supposed to run power from the floor. I had a disconnect drop in the catwalk, and I factored with everything I had upstage and how much power I had on the floor, I needed to run it from up in the sky. So I had 32 boxes of Lions, and then I had 32 cabinets of Leopards, and then I had a center cluster of 4 in the center just to hit the center part of the audience. So overall, in total, I had 68 boxes flown in the sky. And then I had subs on the ground, of course, wedges. Now I took that same PA and I flew that same exact rig in South Carolina, except for the subs couldn't be on the ground. I had to fly those too. So the picture that we have up during your intro, you'll see me on the 1100s. That's me actually doing cable chokes and tying off
Okay.
that PA.
Okay.
It's I've got it like labeled like 1100s, 32 lions, 32 leopards, something like that. But again, I think like the weight on those too, the biggest thing with those lions is the company had to actually buy just for me pullback bars, because the bottom of the boxes, they had to hit the way the client wanted it. They had to hit the downstage portion of the audience. I couldn't have like, I had to have front field coverage match with the bottom of my boxes. What I mean that is, as you look as a line array, you know, you have your, sorry, I'm trying to do this is the mirrored image. So you have your straight stack that'll hit out your audience in the crowd, but then as it starts to curve, you know, it's hitting your down crowd audience. Usually the curve, the bottom box is going to hit out roughly down about, you know, ideally right at your downstage barricade, your first set of audience tier right there. My audience was about 3 feet away from the edge of the stage. They were up close and personal, and I had UPAs and UPMs hitting them for right there too. So I had 16 boxes of line. These are 250 pounds of box, basically focused right on top of them, just shooting down. So those pullback bars, I had 3 2-ton motors flying that rig, and the amount of weight I think on the front motor was just probably over, gosh, that'd be 2,500 pounds, which is a lot of weight. So I factor that's 2,000 pounds is a ton. So just a dead over a dead ton on, you know, hanging right there. That may not seem like a lot to some, but you know, like for most of your festivals, like, you know, any of the big shows, they're doing like 24, maybe 28 boxes just straight and flat down. So yeah.
So is it this picture?
Yeah. So me up on the left-hand side, my 2 stagehands. So what I'm doing right there is basically doing a cable choke strain relief on my drive. So I've got Soka and I've got Soka and LK37, which is a multi-pin connector that provides signal to the cabinets. And what I'm doing here is basically doing a cardio setup. So basically each box has its own signal patch to it. So the reason what I'm doing right here is basically have a tunnel effect. I'm acting the summation of the LFE to funnel and then drop down. That's the overall goal. I don't want any energy blowback. So we're reversing phase on the back of the speakers that are facing us right now to have that energy match and face all the sub energy to come out towards the crowd. So that's the reason why we did it in that orientation. Instead of having all the speakers face one way, we did basically, it's a standard cardio setup, but this one's a different type of omni cardio setup. Yeah. Wow. So I had to fly that. So basically every single bit of my PA was flown in the sky, and that was a hell of a rig.
Crazy.
That was a hell of a rig to fly. and in this little tiny stadium. I get it when you look up in the sky and you see the steel of where the riggers were at. I mean, I'm like, is this really gonna hold, dude? Like, I got a lot of boxes flying in here, dude. Are we sure?
Right.
And yeah, it held. Wow. It threw, but
so what's going on here? Like, I see this.
Okay, so all right, so I'm just gonna throw this out. This should not happen. This shouldn't have happened. This actually wasn't my deal. This is the event I was just talking about in Texas. These are the same lines that I flew. These were 16 boxes aside. So what had happened is I've got my distros and my DSPs up in the catwalk, and I'm dropping down my LK and Soka cable for power and signal to my A1 and A2. The guys it's been a little while since they knew how to lock and splay these boxes. So with the line system, it's pretty straightforward. Before you end up flying them up with a motor, you can actually pre-angle splay your PA, but you have to lock it. So as each 4 boxes come up, it's going to expose another color pattern, which I believe it's the blue. So you got to put your push pin in the blue. What they failed to do is they pulled the pin, allowed it to display, but they didn't lock it. So I'm 250 feet in the sky looking down, and I see my PA swaying. Like, that's not supposed to be moving, guys. And we're like 12, 14 boxes in. I'm like, great.
Oh man.
So at this is at the end of the day nearly. So the next morning I had to get in with the scissor lift, fly up the PA, and then relock in, splay the boxes from, you know, somebody, my other buddies that messed up. So that's what I'm doing right there. I'm fixing an uh-oh. That wasn't my uh-oh. But
All
you know,
right.
uh-ohs happen. That's
Right.
that's my buddy Chris Hartman. He gave me that's a gig I mixed for his band at a church during Easter last year. Fellow great engineer, awesome guy, man. So that's my rig at front of house right there on an X32. Simple, straightforward show.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Great guy.
I have an X32 and I love it. I have the producer version of one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's what we have in my little studio for my band when we play and stuff. I got electronic kit and all that stuff. So it's
awesome.
fun.
Heck yeah, man.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just pulling up some pictures and things that you sent me so that way we can share them, you know?
So that one is me mixing a general manager's band. This is an event called Grassroots. So I'm mixing front of house and monitors right there. I had a set of Myrolinas left and right with LFC 900s for subs and MJF 210s and 12s, I think, for wedges. But yeah, that was me on a QL mixing at a Grassroots festival that I really hope we can do again. Russ, who may still be in the chat, he'll be at front of house. I'll be doing monitors. We'll have a little bit more of a crazy system going for that one, but still an awesome festival that we, you know, hopefully we can do again. Great talent, great people, great vibes, just an overall great day and great beer.
Nice.
It's always a plus. That's me last year. So the same convention we're going to be at on Sunday, that's me as systems and A2. What I'm doing right there is basically going through the Galaxy processor, and I'm just basically measuring and metering my PA. You can see the lines in the background over there. So that's me. Basically, I'm shooting pink before I get them flown up the trim. I'm making sure that I'm getting signal to each one of the cabinets in my zones. So I'm using what we call Compass as a signal processor, and that's what we use for digital signal processing on those boxes to just overall tune the PA. Every different type of PA has their own ways of processing between D&B, L Acoustics, RCF, Nexo, you know, JBL, yada yada yada. But Compass is for Meyer.
Cool. That's awesome.
That is that one is a training event that an old LD buddy and I came up with the idea. This is basically a training day. So what we did is we built a mock corporate stage with talent. I built Monitor World and Russ helped me with front of house. We had lions or leopards and subs out there, and that's an old buddy of mine, and we're putting out wedges. So basically on that show, I had a whole entire back line. I brought my drum set, had bass, had guitars, had vocals, and we ran an entire show and basically taught the entire shop how a production is going to go on a corporate event, especially with talent. So I taught you know, everything from how to set up your PDs, how to test for voltage metering, how to test for clean or dirty lines.
That's awesome.
So lighting went through a tutorial, video camera, we recorded it, we did a stream of it, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, that was a full-on training day for the shop. Just to any questions, anything they had, so they could see it in real time how we do a show and a small
super mock. Cool.
This is the same event from before. That's me as just taking a picture of my processor with my Compass, and I think right there I'm wireless workbench actually. So I'm getting my basically WWB set up for all my RF mics and my my belt packs if needed, and that's my A2 LAN just sitting back there and monitoring my RF. And
cool.
Yeah, just a cool little selfie with a mask on.
Yeah. And then looks like a drum pick here.
Yeah, I do have video footage of this. This is me playing at Sweetwater bar here in I think Norcross or Lawrenceville, Georgia. That was my band. An old friend of mine asked us to co-headline with them. So yeah, that was a pop-up event. We got noticed about 2 weeks before for the show. So that's me jamming out on stage with an old band I played in called Disciples of Danger.
Hey guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching it all, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was absolutely a pleasure to have Chris on my show. And again, Chris Schatz, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to be on my show. It was much appreciated, and I had an absolute blast. If you guys want to find out more about Chris, I will have his links in the description below. And of course, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. That way you guys get notifications every time I have a new uploaded video. Those videos will be uploaded after every interview that I do each Friday. And if you guys want to go over on the live channel, go ahead and go to Facebook with Jerry Lowlife Interviews. I go live every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with somebody in the entertainment industry. Just go over there, hit that follow button and get those notifications. That way you guys know every time I go live. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I love you, and be safe to one another. Until next time, Jerry Lowlife out.